Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. Trucking along here in 2024. Solid start to the year, right, Nate? We've got a pretty good slate here for us after going 4-1 in the play of props on Tuesday night. We've also got best bets up tonight on Wednesday slate, so make sure to subscribe to that page and like those videos. Continue to follow along each and every weekday this season with us. Also want you to head to thelines.com and use that prop finder tool that we have up there under the NBA tab. Make sure you're getting the best juice available to you from all of those books giving us NBA bets this season. Nate, let's go ahead and get into your first NBA play a prop here on a nice big slate. One of the fan favorites of the show here, Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, I'm going to keep going back to it until it doesn't hit. I mean, because Jalen Johnson has been flying over his totals.
Literally.
Since he came back. Yeah, I mean, like, it's 24.5 PRA now. It was 22.5 in his last, 2 games ago. He had that, I believe, at halftime. Like, he's going over this with just points and rebounds and averaging 4 assists on top of it. I mean, he's averaging 34 points and rebounds in his last 2 since the minutes restriction was off. Like, they just gave him 1 game under his belt, played 29 minutes, and he's played 36 in his last 2, putting up crazy numbers, 129 offensive rating. His last 3 against the Western Conference now, 16.7 points, 12.7 rebounds, 4.3 assists. That includes a 13-12 and 5 game at OKC in November. So again, just going over this without the assists, but adding 5 assists. And the Hawks, I mean, in a game with a 250 total, once again, at home against the Thunder, who are on a back-to-back and just played a high-scoring, fast-breaking environment against the Celtics. They've now given up 17 fast break points in their last 3. They're allowing the 4th most rebounds per game on the road, the 4th most rebounds to power forwards specifically on the season, and the 2nd highest assisted field goal ratio on the road. So all that speaks well to Johnson getting his points and his assists and his rebounds in a fast-paced environment. And we just don't know if OKC will have the same lift after a huge win over the Celtics that get everybody's best shot right now. Going to be a little gassed. Shea's prop is 35 points for this one, but he's expected to go. So we should have plenty of points and stats, and Jalen is playing those 36 minutes.
I'm with it. I'm really interested to see how this game goes. Like, it was a very impressive win for that Thunder team against your Boston Celtics. I kind of wish we'd called that, but regardless, maybe if Jaylen Brown didn't go 4 for 18, by the way, that would have been even. Oh, whatever. That was wild. But at any rate, this one, like, the dude who's going to be attacking the rim is the one that I also want in this one, to your point. The one who's going to be upping the pace and, like, doing everything he can to get out into transition. That's the dude that I want. And that was the thought why I actually did end up betting on Jaylen Brown last night, 22.5 points, because he gets into the transition more frequently than literally anybody. He scores the most transition points in the league, does Jaylen Brown. And I was under the impression that the team that one of the few teams that actually wanted to run with OKC would get out and, like, have their best transition player do well, but he just missed all of his freaking shots. With Jalen Johnson, I think it's going to be the same concept. I'm looking at the dude who can bring it to Oklahoma, and this is one of the teams that will continue to run with Oklahoma City because they don't have a choice. They don't have any other style of play for Atlanta, which is just keep it moving and get as many and outscore the other team because our defense is non-existent. So yeah, I'm there with the dude who can do it all for them. He's like the perfect addition to this Hawks team that they've been waiting for. And if he can stay healthy, then he's going to be a big impact. But I'm going to go back to the well here, man. I took Dame Lillard under 7 assists, and I don't know why I would change it. I get more juice tonight for him to go under 7.5 assists than I did on Monday when I took it at like minus 135, and now it's at minus 113 on FanDuel for him to get less than 8 assists, and it's not something he does very consistently. This is not Dame Lillard where it's the ball in his hands, and he either has the option to drive and kick and get assists off of open threes or to just go to the rim. Like that's not what it is anymore. Plus, you have a couple of the injuries that I'm able to throw in there, which is Pat Connaughton is obviously one of their best 3-point shooters, not in there, helps the lack of assists. But Dame's only gone over this number 10 times out of 31 games that he's played this season in terms of getting 8 assists. So I really like that number right there. 4 of his last 5 versus Indy, I should say actually 5 of his last 6 when you date back to Portland now as well. He has gone under this number, only going over once when he was with Portland, under in all 3 with Milwaukee now against this team. Indy is still limiting point guards to fewer assists and teams to the 5th fewest assists, and teams overall about the 7th fewest assists in the league right now for any player. in part because they foul so much. You can get to the free throw line against them, so that limits the assists. Plus, a lot of things are wide open. If you want to go and waltz into the lane, you're able to do so. You don't really have to kick it out. There's no reason to have catch and shoot threes against this team, which is what they don't give up, is a lot of catch and shoot threes, because they are predominantly playing around the perimeter. Everybody except Miles Turner, and sometimes even Miles Turner, is not really standing near the paint. Sometimes Aaron Nesmith in there as well is playing down low as sort of like their scrappy guy. But point being, like the lane is open, man. And if you want it, you can take it. So I think that's a big reason for the lack of assists for Dame. He is now looking at only about 10.5 potential assists per game that he's getting. 80% assist rate on your potential assists is too high, man. Like, and the most he's had at this point is 11. Last game he had 5 assists against this team with 9 potential assists in this last one. So yeah, 8 assists with 9 to 10 to 11 even potential assists is just too much. I don't know if I'm the only one observing this, and it feels almost trappy because they're just giving it right back to us. But I'm just gonna take it once again for the full unit.
I think it's based on the misconception that because the Pacers play high scoring and there's a 257 total, like there'll be assists everywhere, but the Pacers limit assists, like you're saying. Like they foul, they give up easy walk-in unassisted field goals to guys like Giannis. So it's not like Dame is going to have to run pick and roll and get them shots. Like there'll be shots to go around very easily, including for himself. So yeah, I'm fine with the under here. I think the line is too high. Once again, can we talk about Simone Fontecchio? The pride of whatever province he's from in Italy. But, you know, the Jazz have made a lot of lineup shifts lately. And with Walker Kessler going to the bench, John Collins starting, Simone has gotten a few starts here and been part of the plans without Lauri Markkanen. Like initially I was like, let me take Lauri Markkanen here against the Pistons. But I'm like, you know what? It's been a much more balanced attack from Utah lately, and especially against a bad team. I'd rather get the guy who might get more run in a potential blowout with Detroit visiting. So I'll take over 3.5 rebounds for Fontecchio, which is even money or slightly juiced to the over. And you know, half the unit on points and rebounds, 14.5. Because, I mean, he has been shooting well from 3. He's made 16 starts this year, averaged 12.5 a game, 4 rebounds, hitting 2.3 threes. You know, the Jazz, Will Hardy went back to Kessler in the starting lineup against Nola, and Simone only got 14 minutes, and they lost that game. That's the only game they've lost in this 6-game stretch, where they covered in every game, by the way. But, you know, clearly, then he went right back to some more Simone in his last 2 here, 18 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, shooting 56% from the floor, and he's a plus 34. And he's in this 6-game stretch here. He's getting a 67% defensive rebound chance, so plenty of opportunities to board up against a Detroit team that is not going to shoot well. They do limit rebounds, but they're down to now 18th in opponents' defensive rebounds per game. They're more limit offensive rebounds. They allow the second most points to small forwards in their last 7 here, and they've allowed double-digit threes in 10 straight road games, allowing 20 in the 9th worst in terms of percentage on the road in that span. So I think that's where he'll be able to get his points here. And the rebounds are, you know, can fall his way. Like this is a nice value for just 4 rebounds.
Sure. Yeah, I do like adding the points as well. Good on you for finding something in Utah and Detroit, because I was not going to take a look at that game. And just for those who were inquisitive, he's from the Pescara province of Italy, in that region there, for Simone. It's Simone too, which is beautiful. Love it. Yeah, man. Love it. Love this bet. I was betting on him all summer league. I was like, sweet, a 28-year-old professional gets to play against these dudes, 15 plus points, just run it back the whole time. So he's a good player, man. And once you see him out there, you're like, who's this Fontecchio guy? And he's a dude that can move well enough to get the boards. I do like the assist for him as well, though, as sort of the outlet at times for a really solid shooter and in the dunker spot as well. But let's go ahead and close it out with a slightly scary under. I'm adding rebounds and assists here to Devin Booker, and I really like the assists. 7.5. It's just a number I look at, and he hasn't gone on over it without KD. That's my biggest thing, is like, this team is not very good on offense. Now, when one of them is out, to be very clear. Bradley Beal coming in is a weird wrench that I don't have a total understanding of how to play, because he hasn't played with this team but a couple times, right? And it hasn't necessarily meant a massive spike for Book in the assists, especially because KD's been in there, and he's gotten a few assists, and there's been a few less assisted field goals for them when all three are on the floor. But with KD in there, he gets 8. And without him, he gets 7 in terms of book. And he's much more of like the true point guard and facilitator when KD is in there, because he doesn't have to just be the score first kind of guy. Well, now he's got a points prop up at about 27.5, and his rebounds and assists are at 12.5. I'm going to take under because I like adding the rebounds in there against a really, really good rebounding team in the Clippers, basically the second best rebounding team in the league since they made that trade for Harden and shifted their lineup to the way it is. That's also in part because you have Russ on the second lineup now, which is very helpful for their rebounding when guys like Zoo are out, especially with Plumlee hurt and all that. So with all that said, like Booker to not get the rebounds and assists in this one, plus 110, under in 9 of his last 10 without KD, dating back to last season when KD got hurt after playing 8 in a row and they won 8 in a row right after the trade. Then he missed a whole bunch of games before the playoffs. Book, like I said, went under this number in 9 of those last 10 games there. Didn't have Bradley Beal, but the shooting is bad, man. Like this Phoenix team, after going on that 7-game winning streak, has dipped down in the true shooting department to a place that they can't afford to be, right? Like they're all the way down now in the last 7 specifically to like 17th, which for them is not good because they're a team that relies on shooting and the defense being imbalanced once it collapses upon guys like Booker and KD, and to a degree Beal, who's still getting his footing back. But in this one, like it's scary because the potential assists are there for him for sure. Like he's the dude facilitating, but he's finding dudes who aren't good. Like I don't know what to say at this point. They're not good shooters, and that's been a big problem for them. Damian Lee actually has been one of the better shooters when he's on the floor for this squad. And he's out in this one. The Clippers allowing the 7th fewest assists per game, 2 point guards in their last 7 games. Same concept, right in the top 5, limiting assists, and they have been allowing more assists in that crappy stretch of defense that you mentioned in the best bets video where you took them and they were like, oh, they were having a real down stretch of D after really looking really good, and now I do believe that they're a lot back because Kawhi's in. And when Kawhi missed about 4 games over the last couple weeks here, 4 of the last like 9 games that he missed, their defensive rating shoots up from 113 to 124. So Kawhi's in there, man. He's making a difference this year. I'm really proud of him, to be honest, for playing on back-to-backs and not bastardizing any game that he's a part of. So let's go ahead, and I feel good about the Clippers in this one, like you talked about in best bets. And I do think that while Booker might be shooting plenty and 27, 28 points is very doable for him, I think the rebounds won't be there and the assists are a bit high as well.
Yeah, I mean, might we see more of the Booker when he played alongside CP3 because Beal's in there, and maybe Beal takes on more of the facilitating role. And in his last regular season his last 8 against the Clips in the regular season, he's averaging 5 assists per game, 22 points, very inefficient splits with Kawhi in there, and Paul George, both being guys to throw at him. I like under for this game in general, so I have no problem with taking a book under. I did think 27.5 points is maybe a tick low.
Low.
No,
Okay.
I think it's low
Okay.
because I think he's just he's going to come out with the mentality that he has to get 30 for them to have any chance at home here. It's the only thing that gives me pause about the Clips to win is just like Devin Booker's going to get 36 tonight. But if he's scoring that much, I don't think he's getting double-digit assists by any means.
Right. Yeah, it's going to take a heroic effort. I thought maybe you would say, "Ooh, I would add the points in there," but I do agree that like the only thing that gives me pause is one, it's the Clippers, and they could just decide that they don't care tonight, to be honest. But the other thing is the idea that like Book could just decide that this is going to be it's going to be a 27 shot night for him, right? And he's looking to get 40, even if he's a little bit inefficient. And that also takes away from his ability to get the boards as well, especially if he's out there guarding a guy like Harden or even PG. Like he's not going to have much time to get down low and get those rebounds. So
yeah, Clips should care though. This is the team that knocked him out of the playoffs. Like this is a rival, and this is their first meeting of the season. So I do kind of trust them to bring it defensively and Ty Lue to have it schemed up.
True. And how open is that Pacific division, which a little bet that we talked about, I don't know if you remember, was the Atlantic division to have a better record than the Pacific division. And it was like plus 180 that we took that in our futures video. So that's looking really good too, because that Atlantic's way better. But that is all the time that we have for you in this one. Continue to follow along, like and subscribe to that page if you would, so you can check out our videos each and every day. We got play of props in this one. Also have best bets that we're bringing you each and every weekday. So until we see you next, happy betting.